I built the same AI system for 250, 2500 and $25,000 clients. And in this video, I will show you exactly what you get at each price point. From an automation that saves you 5 hours per week to a complete enterprise solution that can really revolutionize the business. I built and sold 100 plus AI implementation over the past 18 months, and I learned exactly what makes each pricing different at each step. In this video, I'm gonna break it all down for you with these 3 systems, so we will see what makes sense for your business at the current stage. Let's get started. Here we have the 3 different systems that we will focus on. Those are different iterations of the same system, which is a call analysis system. So the overall goal of a call analysis system is to take one or multiple sales calls, analyze those, and generate some kind of insights. These are different ways of building data, but in drastically different contexts and different phases. So let's see how those are created, starting with the $250 system, which is a basic call analyzer. Keep in mind, this can be sold for $250, $750, $1,000. That is the range, but this is like the entry level kind of system. Here's an example of what the system is and how I designed this system at the start of my career. This is one of the first systems that I ever sold. The overall goal over here is pretty simple. SDRs were spending too much time reviewing call recordings and understanding what happened during the calls. So we needed to build a system that was able to create insights automatically and then give them to the SDR to review without a manual review. To give you a little bit of an overview about how the system works, we use Fireflies.ai, which is a tool to record the meetings. Within Fireflies, we can trigger a webhook, which is the webhook over here for every new call that is recorded. So every time a new call is recorded, we pass this over here. We get the call details, search the call within the CRM, add the transcript ID that is present within Fireflies, extract the transcript using OpenAI and create an analysis of that. And then finally, add the summary to the CRM, generate a summary report, and then generate a transcript, Google Doc, and add that directly to the CRM. This is a pretty simple workflow, can be done very quickly in a matter of 2 to 3 hours if you really wanted to. Over here, you can see what are the goals of this actual system and what were the actual problems that we were solving. Basically, the client had a bunch of different SDRs and they were spending too much time reviewing call recordings and notes to understand what happens on the call. So our overall goal would be to create this kind of system so that you have different documents automatically generated and you were able to extract call insights without manual review. So that was the goal over here. And building time, as I mentioned, could be 2 to 3 hours or something like that. Here is the price. Why 250 or why 500 or so? Those are the different areas that we solve. The problem that we are solving over here is the efficiency of an SDR. You can think of the work of an SDR as making calls, making sales calls, such as discovery meetings, things like that. The rest of the time is spent in admin tasks such as updating the CRM, adding different information, preparing for calls, and things like that. So we wanted to shorten that time of the administrative task so that SDR could just focus on selling instead of this note taking, admin stuff, and things like that. This is an example of a before and after. Before, the SDR spends 15 to 20 minutes reviewing the notes of the call. Right now, the SDR gets the complete context in 2 minutes, and this could save between 10 to 15 hours per SDR, depending on how much time they take. Over here, you can also see what could be the ROI on this. So this could be, for example, in terms of cost saving of the SDR time. So this could be $200 per month per SDR. And this is intended as time that could be reinvested back to selling. If you consider the work of the most important work of the SDR to be the selling work, having the SDR only focus on that for the whole day would be the most important thing that you have to do. If you can free up their time so that they can just focus on that, you get a bigger return out of their work. That is the actual consideration when it comes to the ROI over here. There are 2 main insights from this system. The first one is that delivery is really, really fast. So over here, as you can see, the system seems pretty straightforward to focus on. The only thing that probably takes the majority of time is the prompting itself. And also to give you a little bit of context on why we did the prompting over here, is that Fireflies by default gives you a summary, but that summary is not tailored to the SDR. And instead, by using OpenAI, we can tailor that by having a personalized prompt that we can use. So that is the goal over here. And yeah, so the majority of the time on the building side of this one is spent on the prompting side. So delivery is really, really fast. The other insights over here is that we are solving a technical problem. The problem over here is pretty simple and straightforward. So we have a person who has a problem in spending too much time on something. We try to remove that activity from them. That is the benefit that we are getting from it. This is it when it comes to the first system, the $250 system. Now let's go to the second system over here, the sales team optimizer. This is the second system over here. It seems a little bit more complicated than the first one, but let me give you an overview of the system over here. What we are doing over here is we are doing a bunch of different things. First off, we are extracting the calls from some Google Drive folders. Each SDR has his own folder. So we are extracting the calls from there. So we are extracting the transcript for there. The second thing that we do is we search for the lead in the CRM. So in this case, we are using Salesforce as the CRM. And this is done for two ways. The first reason is that with the system, we want to auto-populate the CRM fields. And the second reason is that we want to use and find the specific industry. The reason why we want to find the specific industry is that this client has multiple industries, and then based on the industries, they have multiple playbooks and multiple different things. And so the different playbooks and the different prompts are used for qualification criteria, are used for the email drafts that we created, and are used also for the CRM fields that we need to populate. So this is a little bit more dynamic and adds a little bit more complexity. And the final deliverable that we have in this system over here would be a Google Docs file with the qualification and how the different prospects qualified using something that is called the BANT qualification, which is budget, authority, need, and timeline. And a couple of other things include auto-populating in the CRM, as I mentioned before, as well as creating an overview for the manager. Those are a lot of different things, but let me also show you a couple of additional things over here. Problems are similar to the ones before. The same problem that we had at the beginning is still present. So SDR spending time on notes and different things like that. But there are other two things over here. One is about data quality. So sales teams input wrong data into the CRM because either they don't know qualification criteria, something wasn't clear to them, and so they input wrong information. And the other topic over here, which is why also the system costs a little bit more, is that sales SDR managers can see the team patterns across different things, or they would have to analyze every single call in order to get all the different patterns and understand what kind of training they need to focus on. As you can see over here, we are not just focusing on one specific persona within the business, but we are focusing on two of them. We are focusing both of the salesperson, and then we are focusing on the SDR manager, so the manager of the salesperson. As I mentioned you, the solution analyze every single team calls, adding industry specific qualification rules. So this part over here, sorry if the image is blurry, but adds different prompts, different playbooks, and different things based on the industry. As I mentioned, updates the CRM and then create trainings reports. Final results that we have over here is that the manager actually know which area the SDR needs to improve. The CRM data is actually accurate, and then there's better qualification overall for the old business. And building time could be generally 2 weeks over here. Now, why does this cost 2,500? There are two different things that we talk over here, and it's the difference between strategic and tactical. As you saw before, the previous system is more of a tactical system. It's something where We are very clear on what is the scope of the system. Meanwhile, over here, the purpose is a little bit more strategic. We are not just focusing on establishing a very immediate, clear outcome, but we are focused on helping managers improve the team performance, which could be a strategy instead of a specific thing to focus on. That is why this is more of a high level kind of thing and could cost a little bit more. The second thing over here is the different operational problems solved. Three things: time efficiency, data quality, and management blindness. Probably the most important one could be the management blindness, but we are still focusing on time efficiency. We are still adding additional data to the CRM, but we are also removing the guesswork from SDR training so that the managers can have a clear indication of where they need to focus on to improve the performance of the salespeople. Because better performance of them means higher close rates. Higher close rates means more revenue for the business. Meanwhile, in the first one, we focused on something that is a little bit more direct, such as the time that SDR takes to do something. Over here, we are focusing on something a little bit more indirect, which is if we have better qualification, if we have better training, that would mean higher close rates for the SDRs, which would translate into more revenue for the business. That is what we can get out of this. We can get a better qualification, improve close rates, and this could be additional revenue directly for the business. Here we have three insights. First one, as we talked about before, is tactical versus strategic. So tactical meaning solving a specific straightforward problem related to a metric, related to something like that. Strategic is taking a high level view of the system and thinking how we can improve the overall system over here, not just one single metric or simple metrics such as SDR time spent looking at notes or something like that. Here we are improving trainings, which improves qualification, which improves revenue. As you can see over here, also, other important thing is we are talking about multiple stakeholders. So we are not talking about a single job role within the company, but instead we are talking about two of them. We are talking about the SDR and then we are talking about the manager. And finally, over here, there's this difference between tangible and intangible ROI. As you mentioned over here, the main problem when it comes to AI implementations, different things like that, is making sure that we can showcase the ROI. Obviously, in a system like this, we don't have a clear, immediate impact on the ROI ourselves. What we can do is we can focus on the overall process which have impact on the ROI. In this case, is the training, is the CRM data, and those kind of different things. So what we can say in this kind of instances is that if those metrics improve for the business, that should lead to improved close rates. So this is the focus that we would have in this specific case. Finally, let's go through the $25,000 system, which is a strategic command center. The overall goal of this is to create a custom system for the business so that it can look at different things across the business. As you can see over here, what we added over here is different backend components. So those are different components that are present in the system. So sales calls analysis engine, which by the way would be the same as this one. The data collection part, so making sure that we can store all the sales insights, all the sales notes in a database, creating a Q&A chatbot trained on customer calls, and then finally using AI to create insight generation. Those are a couple of systems tied together with a dashboard like the following, where we are able to give out the dashboard to the client, and the dashboard would act as their command center to see every kind of conversation that salespeople have with the client. This is not something that is just useful for one single team, but it could be useful across the whole business. Here are the system goals and the problems. First off, C-suite executives can get insights from all sales call data across the company, and the different departments cannot use the call data to improve their strategies. So first thing, as you can see over here, we are not focusing on middle management anymore. We are focusing on C-level suite, and we are focusing on higher insights, not just sales, but insights across the different companies. Because in this system, we are not focusing on the AI component of data, but we are focusing on what are the different insights that we can generate from analyzing sales calls pretty quickly. So that is the overall goal over here. As I mentioned over here, this is a custom dashboard plus a backend that has all these different things over here. And then the results that the company gets is that executive can have company-wide customer intelligence. So think about having every single call with potential prospects and also current customers, having to analyze those calls, and then from those you can get different information such as what are the most common objections, what are the most common questions, and all those informations can be reused across the whole teams. It could be used by the product team to improve the product itself. It could be used by the marketing for content ideas and different things like that. And it could be used by the sales for the training and for different things that we saw in the previous system. Build time over here could be 2 to 3 months. And now let's talk about why this is actually a $25,000 system. Another shift that we have over here is that we are not focusing on management anymore. We are focusing on executives. We are focusing on even higher level decisions that don't span just the business area, such as the sales, but span across the whole business. In this kind of system, we are helping C-suites make company-wide strategic decision. In the previous system, we were helping the SDR manager improve their team, and that was an example. Now, the operational problems that we are solving over here, the main one is the decision making and making sure that the executive team can have better decision making process. Keep in mind that this could be the same work that big consultancies such as McKinsey and other companies like that get paid to do. Doing the research within your business, giving you advice on what you need to do. Meanwhile, over here, you have a platform that can allow you to do this internally. Now, business impact over here. As you can see, this is a little bit more abstract because we are focusing on decisions for the business. Main thing could be probably making data-driven decision based on customers and based on actual customer conversation. And as I mentioned you before, different areas of the business could be involved, such as the marketing, the product, the sales, and whatever the case might be. But another important thing that I forgot to mention before is that all the company is aligned and all the departments are working with the same insights. There's no distinction between sales and marketing and so on because everyone has the same data and they can use this data in an efficient way. Over here, you can see the before and after. Before, the information was siloed, so only the sales team could use this information. Now everyone can take this information and use that across the different company. Finally, over here, we have the different insights. First off, as you can see, the reason why this costs way more than the previous one is that this is not a single area project. This is a company-wide project that could help the old company. The second point over here is that we are not just selling AI, we are selling data collection plus AI. So the components that we have over here about AI could be the analysis engine of the sales call. This could be the Q&A trained on customer calls and the insight generation, which are just single components. But the beauty of the system and the value of the system comes when we are able to analyze sales calls at scale, add those information into a specific place, and then display those information in a way that makes sense to different parts of the business. The analysis happens on this side over here, and then the displaying of information happens through this two system over here, plus obviously the graphical interface to show everything over here. The final instance over here is the value generation that you can get from a system like this. As I mentioned before, this could be a project that could be assigned to a consultancy firm like one of the big four, and they could be getting paid probably 50K, 100K from this kind of project. Now, the last point over here is the long-term value generation. Over here, as I mentioned before, this kind of system, this kind of decisions are things that big four consultancy companies such as McKinsey, such as Bain, and all the others get charged 50K, 100K, 200K to generate. Meanwhile, in this way, you have a system that is integrated within your business that works over time and then is used for a long time to take data-driven decision. Those are the three examples of three different systems that we built and how the price influences those kind of systems. Let me know what you think about those. Let me know which one is your preferred one. And with that said, feel free to watch other videos on sales, other videos on AI directly on the channel. Bye bye.